My favourite authors, some of my favourite authors, well, I tend to buy books rather than follow authors. There are a couple that I love, though, and one of them is Jonathan Tropper. Who else do I love? Oh, Armistead Maupin, who wrote a series of books in the 70s and 80s called Tales of the City that are just magnificent. I love Jane Gardam. She wrote a book many years ago called Bilgewater, which is one of my all-time favourites. Gosh, now I'm stuck. I think those are the ones that I know that whenever they have a new book out, I'm buying it. Thank you to Awash for saying the recipes from the blog and from Promises to Keep are delicious. Will I be posting more? Well, if I didn't write, what would I do? Well, I'm not entirely sure, but I think it would be something creative. I am forever doing creative things, whether it's building a house, and I love interior design, cook, make jewelry. I don't know whether you can see that, but this is something that I made last week. I have a whole metalsmithing workshop in my basement. This is my latest obsession. So I think it would be something to do with the home, and something creative, I imagine. And I would just hope that it would make me money. To Loretta, who says, speaking of England, are we maybe going back to England in the new book? We're not, sadly. I've just finished the first draft of the new book, and it's set in California, not Mill Valley. This time we're in La Jolla, and in Connecticut. So I think there's nothing of England in the new one, but maybe in the next one. This is from Geordie. It was the first time reading one of my books on audiobooks. How did it feel, and would I consider doing it again for my next book? Well, I loved it, but the reviews haven't been great. I think the problem is that I'm English and I'm reading a book that features American characters. But I completely love doing it, and I'd be very happy to read other people's books. I love it. I just get lost in characters. But I think that I would have to set a book more in England or with English characters in order to read it again. Although I auditioned, they didn't just let me do it. They actually auditioned me and were very skeptical and said they didn't think that I'd be able to do it. And when I passed, I think no one was more surprised than me, but I'm not sure. I know that a couple of people have said that they found it a little difficult, given that I am so English. From Jamila, what books am I currently reading? Stacks. I always have about 3 or 4 stacks on my bedside table. But I am reading, well, I've just finished this wonderful advanced copy, so I'm not sure when it comes out in England, but it's called Ada's Rules by Alice Randall, and it is gorgeous. I'm also reading, I've just started a book called Left Neglected by Lisa Geneva, who wrote a book called Still Alice, about a woman with Alzheimer's. And I'm reading, well, I've started 2 books by authors that I did a panel with at a book festival last week, and one of them is Storm Chasers by Jenna Bloom, and the other one is Birds of Paradise by Diana Abu-Jaba. From Cara, any tips for readers that think they want to write? Yes. I would say stop talking about it and do it. Writing requires tremendous discipline. Anyone can start a book, but few can actually finish it. And it is all about the action, it's doing. And even if you don't feel like it, even if you reach a point where you think, I don't know what to write next, the only way to actually get a book finished is to write, whether you feel like it or not. It's a job. The best training I ever had was when I was a journalist, and on the Daily Express every day I had an editor standing over my desk saying, Jane, we need 1,500 words on this in an hour. And I couldn't say, I'm so sorry, but I'm not inspired today. I had to write 1,500 words in an hour, and that's very much how I treat my writing, and that's the advice that I always give to people, that anyone can start We all have great ideas, but it's the discipline of sitting down and then the discipline of writing, whether you want to or not. Good luck. Jamila, how do you pick the covers for your books? Well, I don't pick the covers. I have an incredibly talented and wonderful team who pick the covers. And in the UK, I've worked with the same team for, oh my goodness, 16 years now. So we know each other very well, and they know, you know, what I like. Certainly, I think I have, well, maybe I just think I have powers of veto. Certainly, there have been a couple of covers that I really haven't liked. But on the whole, you know, we trust each other. We've all worked together for so long that if I say, look, you know, I don't like it, and I don't think it works, and I can back it up, on the whole, we will go back and find something that does work. And I actually adore this cover for the Patchwork Marriage, and adore the US version of the same book, which is called Another Piece of My Heart. Both of them, I think both covers are completely beautiful, and the best covers I've had in a long time. To VYou, what inspired me to write Another Piece of My Heart / the Patchwork Marriage? Being in a blended family myself, you know, finding myself married to a man with children, and all the challenges that come with it, because it is a challenge. It really is very different from getting married first time round and starting again in a family. You have stepchildren, and you have exes, and you have just the rough and tumble and the chaos of blended families. And in a bid to try and understand how to make this all work, I started reading an awful lot, and I read books, and I lurked online, and I spoke to a lot of people, and there was one dynamic that I kept coming across that I found fascinating, which was the woman who married a man with children, and the children hadn't accepted her, and she thought, well, I'm a good person, and all these children need is love and kindness, and I will win them over, I will make this work. And so often that wasn't the case, and I remember coming across a couple who were splitting up because of that, and I thought, you know, I have to write about this. Oh, Suzanne Smith, which book have I read and thought, wow, what a great read? There are too many to mention. Gosh, I mean, certainly of the last year, the books that have really, there have been a couple of books that I found really compelling. One of them was Room by Emma Donoghue, which I thought was just spectacular. I loved Little Bee by Chris Cleave. I loved a book called This Beautiful Life by Helen Schulman, and that's Schulman, which was just a really extraordinary book about a family, just a regular family, loving family, couple of kids, and how it can all turn in an instant. You know, their teenage son gets caught up in a sexting scandal, and everything changes, and it was really one of my favorite books of the year. Tracy Davis, do I ever worry about how I'll find my next book? Yes, every time. Every time I finish a book, I think, oh my God, I don't know how I did that, and how on earth am I ever going to do it again? And yet, the stories keep coming. And I've just finished my next book, which will be next year. And in fact, towards the end, I started to think about a story that I just really want to tell, and so that will be the next book. I mean, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it doesn't come, but the stories do seem to keep coming. Loretta, she says, I can't recall the book, but you spoke of a town called Kilburn. My maiden name is Kilburn, so I had to see Kilburn when I went to London. And the question is, did you live in Kilburn? Well, Loretta, I can't imagine anybody wanting to see Kilburn when they go to London. I mean, Kilburn is the last place they'd want to go and see, and the book was Jemima J, who lived in Kilburn. Yes, I lived in Kilburn. My first flat was in, well, it was in Kilburn, but I like to pretend it was in Maida Vale because the postcode was W9, and that's Maida Vale, which is quite posh. And so I remember getting in a black cab one day from the West End and giving him the address, and address, I sound very American then, giving him the address, and I said it's Ashmore Road. It was 102A Ashmore Road in Maida Vale. He went, "That's not Maida Vale, love, that's Kilburn." I thought, oh God, it serves me right. But yes, so I did live in Kilburn. Martina asks if Andy in the Patchwork Marriage, well, if the Patchwork Marriage was made into a movie, who would I like to see play Andy? Gosh, the movie business is so cynical. It's less about who would be perfect for the role than who can we get and who's the money maker right now. There are some characters in some of the other books that I've kind of cast. I always thought that Olympia Dukakis would make the most amazing Nan, and Helen Mirren I think would be a lovely Nan as well in The Beach House. But Andy, gosh, I don't know. Maybe someone like that lovely Naomi Watts would be a great Andy. Yes, I think Naomi Watts. Jamila, have you ever had writer's block, and if so, how did you deal with it? Any tips? Yes, every time. Having just written my 14th novel, still with every book, there are numerous times throughout the book when I just think I don't know what to write. I just can't. I have no idea. And I have found the only way to get through it and to get over it is to write. And, excuse me, you have to sit there and write. And at the beginning, it feels like squeezing blood from a stone. But the more you write, the more it comes. You'll find that it'll be a slog, and you write, and then suddenly something will come to you, and you'll think, oh, that's good. And then something else will come, and all of a sudden, it's back. And the only way to unlock that creativity is to write through it. And also, I find for me, I have to get offline. I have an app now installed on my laptop called Freedom, and when you open this app, it asks, how many minutes of freedom do you want? And I give myself, 180 minutes. I've got 3 hours where I cannot distract myself by getting online, because that's my biggest distraction. So I recommend that to everyone. Mindy, thank you. She just writes lovely words. Thank you so much for writing and being such a strong, phenomenal woman. I'm not always strong, but I think the key really to a successful life and to happiness is not being scared to reveal all parts. Strength is wonderful, but it's also really important to be vulnerable and to allow that side of yourself to show through as well. But thank you. This is from Loretta. I know you enjoy cooking. Do you have a favorite cookbook? I actually have props for this one. Yes, well, my most favorite, the one I refer to the most, is actually this one, which is from my, let's get it straight, from my French Culinary Institute course. And this was my workbook. So this is the basic culinary techniques behind everything. So I refer to that one probably more than anything. There's an English food writer called Diana Henry. This is one of them, Cook Simple. She has a number of books, and I adore her recipes more than anything. She has a lot of international influences, a lot of Moroccan, a lot of Middle Eastern, and really delicately spiced, wonderful food, and a lot of comfort food, which I love, because with 100 children and a house full of friends, you want food that you can create earlier, so you don't have to worry about it. But then there's another one called Around My French Table by Dory Greenspan, who is an American who I believe has lived in Paris, which is another just great French country book. And obviously, I have all the staples. I have shelves full of Jamie and Nigella and all of those, but probably my go-tos are Diana Henry, Yeah, and my own from school. But I love River Cottage as well. I love Hugh Fernley Whittingstall. Thank you for saying how beautiful the Facebook page Figless Manor is. It was the joke name for our house that we built, because when we moved in on the day of completion, I was so excited about this one huge fig tree, gathering fig recipes, and of course the day that we completed, we came to the house and the fig tree was gone. There was a big hole in the ground. So I jokingly referred to the house on my blog as Figless Manor, and people kept writing and saying, how's Figless Manor? But we have built this wonderful house, and I very firmly believe that you can live in great comfort and beauty and style without it having to cost a fortune. And I suppose my Facebook Figless Manor page was sort of that, my own version of what's it called, Pinterest. So thank you. Oh, Tracy Davis asks, any chance in the future you could come to Wales to do some book signings? Well, I would love to. You probably don't know this, but I went to Aberystwyth. So yes, Bach, I would love to. I don't know whether I will, but I will certainly talk to my publishers about it, because I would love nothing more than to come back to Wales. Question from Geordie, now the food-related question: is the cooking show still in the works or not? There are many things in the works. I think a cooking show has definitely been set aside for now, and there are a couple of other projects that I'm working on, and we shall see. We shall see. It's exciting. To Colin Mostrom, do I structure things before writing, or just start and let the ideas flow? Well, I start with the characters, because my experience has been that when you draw your characters correctly, they will tell their own stories. I do have a rough idea. I have a theme and I have a message, and I sort of know the beginning and the end. I'm just not quite sure how I'm going to get there. I tend to structure in thirds, and the reason I do that, I mean, I'll write sort of, part 1, part 2, part 3, but then I only structure the part 1 because often by the time I finish, the characters will have taken the story in a completely different direction. So that's how I do it. But character is everything. The characters, when you feel like you know them, when you know everything about them, they will dictate where the story goes. Good luck. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who came and joined in with this chat, and I hope that I managed to answer all of your questions, and I hope you enjoyed the book. Thank you.